Welcome back to the Money Honey Show with me, your host, Rosalia Lazzaretilli. Today, we'll be touching on a very important subject that is really close to my heart and really personal to me, but I'm sure it will be hugely relatable to everybody listening here today. Because the reason I say this is I started in the mortgage world by accident. Okay. I don't know how I got a job in this industry. I didn't have my own mortgage at the time. I didn't know what LTV meant. Even when they broke it down and spelled it out for me and said loan to value, I was like, I hear my mum talk about this. I don't really know what you mean. And they were like, you got the job. Can you go out to brokers and sell bridging and commercial and development? And I was like, yeah. So I paid for this like £1,000 course outside of work in my own time. I went to this like property education company just to quickly learn like what the hell am I supposed to be talking about? And then learned that, and then I just learned on the job. And then from that job, so that was my first early job within the mortgage world. That was working for a packager. Off the back of working for a packager, a lender found me because I was giving them a lot of business. So I was like, I love this lending world. I'm giving them, I know how to identify these deals. I know how to break them down. I built a relationship with several different lenders, but there was one that really used to like stick out to me. And there's a reason why that we're going to dive into later. But yeah, I got poached by the lender. They were like, look, Ros, we've known you for a while now. You've been submitting cases to us for a while. Why not do it full time? Come and work for us. And the rest is history. I went to work for them. I started my career there from packager to BDM. Absolutely loved my job. Like literally, people used to ask me on the stand when I was at events, so like, you like your job, don't you? I was like, yeah. And they were like, yeah, we can tell. And that's really important to the story of why we're here today, because that journey was interrupted. That journey with this particular lender in my heart was, let's say, interrupted. That 4 years ago, I would have said to you, it's over. Whereas today, everything makes sense again. Like things have all just come back. Anyway, I'm going to stop speaking in cryptic language because I'm trying not to reveal without the reveal. But I've invited a very special friend and a very senior leader in this industry that I highly admire, because she was the one that looked after me and brought me under her wing and showed me the ropes and taught me how to be a BDM for real, like for real. She was the one that would sit in meetings with me, would drive up and down the country, introducing me to brokers, showing me how to analyze a deal. If I'd pick up the phone to her, she would help me break down the deal. If I was struggling, with anything, she would just be there. And like I said, our colleague relationship was interrupted due to COVID and the pandemic and due to me being made redundant. But we found each other again and have come like we're on to new things, and we are doing so many good things together that we want to share with you today. So without further ado, I am very honoured to be joined here today by the lovely Tanya Elmaz, Director of Intermediary Sales at Together Money. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Rosalia. That's a really nice introduction. I feel humbled. Thank you very much. And it's nice hearing you talk about your story as well, because there's so many things that you have mentioned that are, firstly, that we have in common. When you speak about teaching yourself something, when you want to just learn something and you've gone off and taught yourself. And that's such an important attribute, a winning attribute, actually, to be able to have. So thanks for that introduction. I feel humbled. I feel excited to be talking about all things with you. And you're right, we have gone on a full journey and a full circle, haven't we? And we are on to, I wouldn't say bigger and better things, but certainly amazing and exciting.
Definitely. We were doing big and great things. I mean, we all change at different, like for me, when I got the job at Together, that for me was like the biggest transformation I'd ever had in my career. Like never before that job. I mean, I appreciate all the jobs that I've had prior, and I am who I am today because of those jobs. But Together was like the highlight of my corporate employed career. I'd never had such a good job as good as Together. And I've said that when I was there, and I said it when I was gone. And that was because of like the platform you guys gave me, the access into the industry. And also you gave me a really big challenge to deal with, actually. Like, bringing a Mancunian lender down into, like, back then in North London, trying to spread the name of Together Money in the North London and Herts, Beds, Bucks region was not for the faint-hearted. Like, that was not an easy task to do. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed the challenge. So, yeah, here we are again. So tell me a little bit about, for those listening and those who don't know you, tell us who you are, just a little snippet of your journey, and where you came from in the industry and where you are today.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm Tanya Elmaz. I've worked for Together for 9 years, but prior to that, I have worked, I've always been in specialist lending. So prior to that, I worked for Mortgage Express, Bradford and Bingley. But I started my journey, that might be a good place to start this conversation. I started my journey in sales. So when I was 16, I worked while I was at college, and I continued to work while I was at uni. I had a special arrangement with my tutors that I wouldn't be able to attend any seminars or workshops after 3 p.m. because I had a full-time job which started at 3 p.m. It was 3 p.m. till 9 p.m. Monday to Friday. So I did college and uni in the day, zipped to work, and then started to work from 3 till 9. And that was my sales job. You see, you didn't even know this, did you, Rosalia? That was my sales job. It was a telesales job. And I tell you why I'm telling you that, because I was thinking in preparation for this conversation, how did I start and why have I got a personal brand, or some would say some confidence in my work, because that's a really important part actually of propelling yourself at work. And I think it's that sales background, because that sales background gives you the confidence to communicate, gives you the confidence to negotiate. You get so many no's. You have to be resilient. You have to know how to handle objections. You have to pick yourself up. So those skills, it was only a telesales job, but it was the best training ground I could have given myself for learning lots of really important life skills. So I did that job for 10 years. And the other thing that job gave me, which continued to sort of follow through my career, is an open capped earning potential. Because it's sales, you're not necessarily earning anything less than your male colleagues, because it's sales. You just have an open cap and you're going for it. So it was a fantastic foundation. Then I moved on to working for Mortgage Express, Bradford and Bingley, and that was operational, running a call centre. And then I took a couple of years out, had a baby, came back, started to work for Together, have been at Together for 9 years, started as a BDM. I've had 5 positions in 9 years, worked my way up the ranks. Sometimes I've taken a sideways step rather than an upward step, because that's important in a career as well. And I am where I am today.
I love that journey, Tanya. So yeah, something new I've learned about you. So the call center job, which is again another similarity we have, because my first ever experience of picking up a phone and doing sales was when I was about 14, 15, no, probably 15, 16 actually. At 14, my first job was like a Saturday girl in a hairdresser's, right? And that was consultative sales as well, if you think about it, because I didn't just, well, actually, no, not if you think about it. If you know me, you will know that I didn't just sweep hair. I was upselling the shampoo. Whilst I was washing their hair, I was like, oh, do you like the smell of this conditioner? It smells really nice. But it just came natural to just kind of like sell products off the back of like me, because I just wanted to talk to people. I didn't want to just be seen as like the cleaner. Not that there's anything wrong with the cleaner, but I just didn't want to be like the cleaner of the salon. So I was like, I'm cleaning the salon, but that's because I'm giving everyone a beautiful experience here today. But then I did something else off the back of it. But my first phone that I ever picked up and that taught me so much about rejection and talking to people and building relationships was when my mum, bless her, she had to abandon her test. So after school, I would walk. So I went to school in Stevenage, and from my school to her office in the town centre, I could walk to the office. So after school, about 3:34, I'd reach her office, and then we'd have a couple of hours there whilst I did my homework and she would work. So I was listening in the background, and needless to say, I think I was subconsciously learning everything that was going on in the background.
Yeah.
As they say, your environment, and what you consume and what you listen to. And one day, I believe we received the news whilst we were in the office. She just had to drop everything, abandon her desk, and head off to help my granddad. And the phone was ringing and ringing and ringing, because you know what recruitment agencies are like. They're relentless. And then I just went, hello, Universal Personnel. And I just picked up the phone at 15, 16. And then my mum didn't actually return to the office for 6 weeks, because my granddad was in hospital. So for 6 weeks during my summer holidays, I covered her recruitment desk. Don't know if you knew that, but I ran her recruitment desk for 6 weeks during the summer. And after that, she then was like, you've just been selling all summer. And just kept it going. So that is the resilience that it teaches you, that I just take for granted today. When people are like, oh, you're so confident on stage and on the phone and sales, I'm like, well, yeah, you should have met me when I was 15, 16. Like, that's how long I've been working on this skill, which brings me on to my question, which is skills. Let's talk about skills and skills required to build a successful, whether it's self-employed career or to build a employed career in this industry. What do you think we need?
Yeah, skills. It's a really important one. So confidence is a massive a skill, and it's one that sometimes women have but shy away from showing. So there's having confidence in your ability to do a job, but then there's also having the know-how with how to demonstrate your confidence. Lots of people struggle with this. Some people are too confident, come across as arrogant. Some people, are confident and don't know how to show it. So confidence is a really big one. Actually, being an expert is really important, because you have to be able to deliver the goods. There's no point in being having all the gear but no idea. So, as well as being confident, you need to be able to back yourself up with facts. I think something really interesting you've spoken about already, teaching yourself. I think having initiative is really important. I've never had anything necessarily on a plate, but that's never deterred me. And I think if you've got the initiative in your career to either teach yourself something or in a job to get to the next level, or look around you and ask for help, that's really important. So having that initiative to actually progress. I think having a plan is important. I've had some really interesting conversations in the last 6 months about PDPs with lots of colleagues in my channel. I think it's really important to think about where you want to get to, galvanise support from different people that can help you get there, so that you've got a robust plan, and take small steps in that plan. It doesn't have to be massive leaps. It can be small steps in that plan taking you towards where you want to go. So it can be a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan, a 10-year plan, whatever it is. Having a goal is really important, and communicating that goal as well. Once that goal leaves your mouth, it becomes real. You keep it a secret in your head. You've only got yourself to actually answer to, and you can let yourself off, can't you? But as soon as you tell a few of your friends or a few of your family or a few of your colleagues, this is what I'm going to be doing by this date, they might ask you about it. So it's good to let the cat out of the bag, I think.
I love that you say that, because I'm looking at my vision board behind me, just having that like clear, and there's like some crazy stuff on there that I don't even know what they mean. Like, you might cut out a picture of something, and I'm like, does that, and sometimes you just didn't even know how that will come about, but because you put it out there and you're aware of it, and you've made yourself and other people around you aware, it really brings it closer to you, or it makes you challenge your beliefs about it, and it makes you challenge your commitment levels towards it. But yeah, you're right, keeping it a secret, just as well as like, keeping your talents a secret, or keeping your confidence a secret, keeping it to yourself isn't really helping anybody. So let's break some of those skills down though, because confidence, let's just start with one by one. Like, confidence is something that is felt, isn't it? Like, you feel the confidence. It's not always tangible. So how did you develop your confidence, or what makes you confident in your role?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, because you can't give somebody confidence. You do have to gain your own confidence, and confidence looks different with different people. So for people like you and me, it's, having a loud voice, being able to stand up and talk. We know that already. But for somebody else, it might be being more softly spoken, but having the confidence in the delivery of what they're doing. So the first thing that you have to nurture with confidence is, what does it mean for you and how does it look for you? Because it's not all the same. But I think something that I've always known, but you've really articulated really well in previous conversations that we've had at events and work that we've done together, is around personal branding. So I always talk about, having a personal brand and being clear what it is. But you said something really interesting in one of our events recently, and it's this: it's whether you want to get on board or not with your personal brand, you've got one. You might as well own it. You might as well label it, nurture it, develop it, size it. You might as well take the lead on your personal brand, because don't be fooled. You've got one, whether you're nurturing it or not. So you might as well take control of that personal brand. And again, it doesn't have to be all loud, all singing, all dancing. It can be that quietly confident person, who adds the facts that people need, or, is the person that people rely on. So you have to figure out what confidence means to you. But I think one thing that, whether you're a loud, confident person or quiet, confident person, I think confidence has got to come from having the facts, knowing your area of expertise, being that expert, and that can only come with knowledge, and knowledge can only come with time and experience, and actually having the care and the ability to invest in yourself. So you're not going to wake up confident for no reason, or if you do, it will show. So you need to have the skills and the knowledge behind that confidence to be able to actually deliver.
Yeah, it's like, for example, the way how I a metaphor for me is like, for example, if you've eaten junk food for a really long time, or you've smoked for a really long time, and then you suddenly give up and have a healthier lifestyle, you suddenly realize, oh my goodness, I was not well. Like, it feels so good to feel like this, that I can't believe I used to feel like that. But when you are a smoker, when you're eating and drinking things that you've always, consumed, you don't realize what it feels to not have that. And so I link that to confidence, and that, when I'm still not confident in so many ways. Like, even though I dress in bold colors and I dress to impress and I want to put myself out there, does not mean that I look in the mirror, I'm like, hey, you sexy fuck. Like, obviously, there are times where I'm like, oh dear. But by doing the thing, it makes me confident. It's like, by eating a salad, it's not that I suddenly have abs. It's just that it makes me feel better. It makes me feel healthy. And therefore, I behave healthily. And that's what I like to do, is like, today, wouldn't it be easy on a Friday afternoon? The sun is absolutely scorching outside, and I'm literally closed off in here in my shed in blackout curtains to record this podcast, and to feel confident about today and to be ready for today. I had to put my makeup on, I had to do my hair, I had to dress to, because I wanted to respect the people who have taken their time out of the day for here. But you guys show up and they're like, she must always be like, not at all. I'd love to just take my makeup off and go outside today and just enjoy myself and just like relax. But you have to do the thing, don't you? Just to make you feel it first.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there is that phrase, fake it before you make it. And if you're a salesperson, you've always got to be, show time when you're selling. So that is definitely a time when you're faking it before you make it. But it's interesting you speak of your sort of ritual to make yourself feel confident, because women are, probably tune in to their feelings perhaps more than gents do. What did I do to feel confident for this session with you? I did a lot of reading. So we've all got our own different way of what it is that we want to do to make ourselves feel confident. And that's why I say it's whatever's right for you to get yourself feeling confident. But it's true what you say, because how you feel impacts how you perform. If you feel good, and your feeling good might be in reading some facts, it might be in, reading an extra email a couple of times, it might be doing the right makeup. It might be wearing the right shoes, having the right perfume. I mean, you can't smell me, but I've got the right perfume on, right? So, so it's about whatever it takes for you personally to feel confident, but confidence is really,
Everything. You're
really,
so
really important.
right. In everything, like your fitness, in your health, in your mindset. I know that if I've been neglecting my journaling and my reading, my meditation, and my spiritual time, I know that my mindset really, really suffers and starts to affect my performance. So yeah,
Yeah,
rituals in developing your confidence and also your knowledge. Having a knowledge plan and having an education plan. How are you going to
yeah,
better your skills? You can't just ask for a promotion or a new job if you don't have the skill that you need. So you need to take the initiative, like both Tanya and I have shared, how we used our initiative in certain points in our career to actually step into something that we wanted to achieve. So
yeah.
so yeah, plenty on skills that we could. Anything else you want to touch on skills before I move on to anything else?
Well, only the flip side of that, because my colleagues will probably tell you that they're slightly amused sometimes when I'm doing one-to-ones and I do the stop, start, continue. So the stop is a really interesting one. So I want to mention what we should or what we could stop doing as well on the flip side.
Yeah.
Not to be a negative Nelly, but I think we should stop doubting ourselves, because that's a huge one. Because I meet and see and hear from lots of amazing people and women, but a lot of them doubt themselves, me included at different times. And there's no sort of secret sauce of how you can stop doubting yourself, other than let's catch each other out and call each other out. You wasn't at this particular event, but the first Women in Finance event that I had, I got up to do my intro, which wasn't prepared because I'm confident. I just got up to do an intro, and I said something. I said something like, "Oh, I'm really lucky to work it together. It's a really diverse. We're on a journey for diversity." I did my intro. One of the ladies at the event pulled me aside and she told me off, and she said, "Why did you say you're lucky to work at together? Together we're lucky to have you." So it's even in your language and your thinking, even when you don't realise, having that doubt and the way you portray it. I didn't really think about that, but she's absolutely right. Her name's Alison. So one thing, let's stop doubting ourselves and be careful with how we speak and the language that we use when we're talking about how great we are. And the other thing that I got to call out is let's stop seeking perfection. I mean, I see this all the time with women. We seem to be on a mission to reach the 100 out of 100 mark. And I have this conversation with my colleagues all the time, and I relate it to school grades because I like numbers and numbers work for me. It's kind of precise, and I say, like an A grade is 80% or up. So why are you going for 100? Just, give me an A if you want, but give me a B plus. That's fine too, right? So, you don't have to be 100% perfect 100% of the time. It's nice, but don't wait until you are 100% amazing, because there's plenty of other A grades out there, and you just need to be A grade if you want to get to where you're going.
Love that. That is such a great analogy. And actually, I don't want to be 100% because I've often said if I'm the best in the room, then I'm in the wrong room. Or if I was acing my exam, I was in the wrong exam. So, that's why they have sets, like
Yeah,
maths and English and whatever. So you were, if they noticed that you were getting 100% on an exam, they weren't like, okay, Ros, right, you graduated from the year. That's it. You don't even have to come back in tomorrow. They were like, well, no, you need to go up a
yeah,
grade. So if you're
yeah,
finding yourself reaching that 100%, you are already playing small. Had you considered that?
yeah,
Because actually,
yeah,
that is the wrong level for you. So yeah,
yeah,
I love those top tips. So the stop doubting yourself and
yeah,
stop going for perfection. I always say as
yeah,
well, I have like one of my screensavers is progress over perfection. So I
yeah,
prefer development and knowledge and growth. I prefer growing than this static, perfect picture. And
Yeah.
what I'd like to add to the do's and don'ts, I'm sure I don't know if this is on your list, but I'd like to add the stop apologizing, which is kind of similar to the
Yeah.
doubting, but yeah, stop apologizing. I found myself maybe sometimes excusing like, especially when I first launched the podcast. I had given that, this statistic has changed now. I always said that 99% of my clients are men, but actually it's probably like now 80% because I've started to be more vocal and more open about encouraging women to get involved. But when I first launched the podcast, the majority of my following and people in my network were men, and they were like, "Oh, I'd be on your podcast, Roz," and I was like, "Sorry, it's just for women. I would love to have you." And I was like, really, like, almost ashamed, or not ashamed, but I was like embarrassed to like say no to them. And I was like, well, if there's no other podcast out there that's doing this, someone has to. So no, excuse me, out the way. This is just for women only. So that's, that stop apologizing attitude.
Yeah.
I think is really important. And saying no. Saying no is my new favorite word. No, it is. I no for the opportunities where there is an alignment. Okay, so there might be budget and there might be money there, but I'm like, no, because I need to work with you now for the next 9 months or 6 weeks, and I've got to get up with enthusiasm and and feel encouraged. So so saying no to opportunities that actually aren't in alignment with you. So no is definitely part of your career path, right?
Can I add another one?
Let's keep going.
Let's go for it. Okay, so another one is stop waiting for someone to give you a pay rise. Go and get it yourself.
How? What? How? What do you mean?
Well, it's I wrote a post on LinkedIn some months back, just giving some advice about when you should ask for a pay rise and maybe how you should ask for a pay rise, because it's not an elephant in this room, but having done a little bit of prep to come on your podcast, I had to reread facts that I've read before about gender pay gap. So I've been reading the same facts for a number of years, and whilst we make some progress in a number of industries and in our sector, in the finance sector, the progress is slow and the progress is small. So it's still progress, but it's small and it's slow, and there is still a significant pay gap between men and women in our sector. Depending on what reports you read, somewhere between 20 and 30%. So that feels like too big for me. And so really, it's some people wait to be offered a pay rise, and I prefer to be in the category of creating opportunities for a pay rise. When I used to work at Mortgage Express, my boss was a gentleman called Andy. He would see me coming every quarter for my one-to-ones with the same question. And he'd just be like, again, Tanya, we're just going to keep asking until we get to where we want to get to. So I think knowing your worth, being able to articulate it to your boss or your employer, putting a value on yourself, being clear, and seeking the information around you so that there's transparency, so you know what you can be paid, and having the confidence and the skills to actually ask for a pay rise if it's appropriate is really important. You can't not do that if you want to impact the gender pay gap. So it's a kind of a call to action. I don't want to be a troublemaker, but I kind of do.
Let's do it. This is the money, honey.
Yeah,
this is about making change.
Exactly, let's do it. So I don't mean go and ask your boss on Monday for a pay rise just because. You've got to have a reason, right? You've got to have the right reasons. Your role has to have expanded. You have to expand your knowledge, your experience. You have to be the person that's always there on deadlines, overachieving, playing your part. You have to be, putting all that in. And I'm a real big believer. I like to walk the walk before I talk the talk. So for me, if there is another job that I want to do, any of my bosses will tell you I have a kind of mode of operation. And that is I start to say, is there any projects I can help you with? Is there anything you want me to do for you? Anything I can get involved in so that I actually get to, participate in the new role before I actually decide, yeah, I'd like to have that role, so that I've experienced it and I've done it, I've walked the walk. So I didn't want to have this conversation with you without addressing gender pay gap and my cheeky / troublemaking call to action to, if you want to get a pay rise, you've got to ask.
Told you, everyone listening, the Money Honeys listening, I told you this episode was going to be relevant. It's a personal, it's a personal journey and a personal story for me, but definitely relevant for so many of us out there. Whether you are running your own business and you want to elevate your brand and you want to elevate your income, you need to ask for it. You need to speak about it first. You need to do the thing. So, the famous saying, like Tanya's just mentioned, which is, walk the walk before you can talk the talk. So what I've posted about as well, Tanya, on LinkedIn, a similar phraseology to that, which was talk about what you've done, not what you're going to do. There's too many people out there that are like, oh, I'm going to do this and I want to do this and I want to change the world by doing that. And then everyone gets like really hyped up by their chat, right? And then really when you come back, you're like, yeah, but this chat, like, where's the actions? What's the evidence? So I say, talk about what you've done, not what you're going to do. So when you're asking for a pay rise, evidence what you've done, who you've become, the journey that you've been on, where, what areas of the job that you've already done and touched and elevated, rather than, well, if I get the pay rise, then I will. That transactional exchange just does not work anymore. So you have to do it first. So Tanya's absolutely right in reminding us all that. And that reminds me as well, so many people have actually asked me, Roz, they're asking, but they're telling me, they're like, Roz, do you think you're undercharging? Roz, do you always constantly being asked? And every time they ask, I'm like, yeah, but I was doing it because they're like, okay, but do you think you already did that now? I'm like, yeah, I've done that. And they're like, okay, yeah, you're a new person now. Come on, let's move on. So, even this is even clients. So I thank them as well for kind of raising.
It's a really good point, because as a self-employed person, whatever sector you're in, if as a self-employed person, you're setting your own fees, aren't you? And you got to value your time more and more and more, and you've got to put, you've got to price yourself accordingly for your value and your experience. And I think probably if you're self-employed, if anyone's ever said to you, are you sure this is a bit too cheap? You should put your prices up the next week.
Yeah, exactly.
You should just do it.
And that's what
you should just do
my
it.
prices have increased so many times since day one from 2020 when I first launched. But also it's gone in hand with, like, I wouldn't be offering the same service that I did in September 2020, and I just charge more for it now. Everything has elevated, everything is,
absolutely.
So of course it's naturally going to happen that prices go up, but this is also on us. Like, that's what I'm trying to say, is that whether you're employed or a business owner, it is on us to ask for that pay rise, whether we have to approve it with a boss or you have to prove it with yourself. But myself is my clients. My clients are my boss, really. They're the ones that I run my business around. So, definitely taking ownership on asking or actually addressing the pay rise, whether it's employed or unemployed.
Yeah, and the same thing goes. I know it's loosely linked, but I'm gonna link it anyway. The same goes for if you are I know we're talking about this sector and being employed and being self-employed as well, but the same goes for if you're a borrower. I work for a lender, so I'm going to talk a little bit about being a borrower. The same goes for if you're a borrower, because in preparation for this chat with you, I had a look to see what female borrowers we have across our lending spectrum, and what types of borrowing that they have done and what they're doing and what their journey is. And I was delighted to be able to read about one lady called Christina, who went along to an auction just to see what was going to happen, and did the thing that you should never really do, and just kind of bought, she was with her husband, and we've got a press release on it, and he said, you put your hand up, and she said, no, you put your hand up, you put your hand up. So she put her hand up and she bought property, and she ended up buying that property, doing it up and selling it, and now that's her job, that's what she does. And there was another story that another case that I stumbled across. It was a lady called Stephanie Beatty. She was a teacher, and she bought her first property. Again, it was outside of COVID. She wanted to change her role. She was at home, not working. So she went along, connected to an online auction and bought a property for 190,000, did it up and sold it for 450. And then there's another case that I looked at, and it was a lady in Wales. Her name was Lindsay. She bought a property for 42 grand, did it up and sold it, and now she's got a £3 million portfolio with Together. So I had to throw those in because I was looking for examples of all different things that we can talk about, and having those inspirational stories about women who, and these three examples just happen to be auction. Having those examples about how women can take power into their hands and empower themselves economically to either change their role or do something that they never thought they'd be doing, and controlling their economic careers is really heartwarming. And another stat that I'll just end this bit of the conversation on, which really blew my mind, I didn't realise that, and this is a stat from Auction House UK, that nearly 50% of people that buy at online auctions are women.
Nearly 50%.
50%. Yeah, 49.7. So nearly 50%. Isn't that an amazing stat?
That is amazing.
It is amazing. And I think that's one of the contributing reasons for that is that auctions have changed to be, I don't know if you've ever gone to an auction, property auction. I went once just to see. I was really careful with my hands to keep them in my pockets so I didn't accidentally buy a property. And it's, it was a room full of mainly men and, suited and booted, turning up serious to buy properties. And obviously with COVID, all of that, most of it went online. So it really changed the face of how auctions work. And that's what, when you read lots of statistics, looking at questioning why there are more women now buying at auction, that's one of the main reasons that it's become a lot more accessible. Not so much anonymous, but you don't have to be in a room particularly and be freaked out by accidentally buying a property, or in a room full of men with suits. You can be at home in your loungewear buying a property.
Love that. I mean, I just love the fact that you said the word accessible, because immediately this whole story, I was going to link it back to the fact that the whole reason I told you guys why I loved my job at Together. I'd said at the beginning, I alluded to the reason why this lender had a special place in my heart. Obviously I've worked with a lot of lenders before, but the reason I particularly pursued working at Together and enjoyed working at Together is because I think the motto that Together have is very similar to Manuka Media. And my motto is making money and property more accessible to everyday society all the time. And isn't that exactly what Together do? That they've been opening doors since 1945, right? And that's
Thank you for mentioning one of our slogans there, opening doors. Thank you very much. We've been opening doors for 50 years, and really we want to be able to realise people's property ambitions. That's what we want.
Yeah, but you're giving opportunity. This is what I learned from working at Together, is that it was a really diverse and flexible lender that would allow anybody, almost any property, anybody, really flexible lending. And I really enjoyed that, even though they were really no email that came through was ever easy. I was like I always had to breathe deeply to read that email from start to finish, because I knew that I'd have to read between the lines, and it was always complex, right? It was always some complexity to the deal. So I had to concentrate a lot. But that's what I loved, is that, my brokers would say something like, Ros, I've been everywhere. I have no idea who's going to do this. I'd be like, well, we should have been your first port of call, because this is what we do. And this is what, I remember and still love about Together today, is that you do give opportunities to people where they didn't think there was one. And just like these three ladies that you've just described. So just out of curiosity, before we wrap up, is there a stat of how many women borrowers you have at Together? Were you able to kind of dig?
I wasn't able to get that. I'm really honest. I have sent a few emails this morning and I've got people frantically looking. And that's a really interesting reason why we haven't got it. It's not the type of data that people are used to, I suppose, pulling out and reading. So I will get that data, and I will share it on LinkedIn for anyone who's interested afterwards. It's probably not enough for me, but I am a bit greedy. But I think starting with looking at that stat is something that's really important. And just finally, I want to say that we've started recently working or plan to work very closely with a company called Female Founder Finance. Yes. And they focus on providing finance for females. And so in having these conversations, I have recognised that we haven't got the data easily accessible. So we're looking at that so we can get it. And then we're also looking at how can we lend more to firms that are focusing on finance for females. And obviously we still want to be accessible to everybody in every which way possible. But, you know, it's a cause that is close to my heart. So I wouldn't be right if I wasn't pushing it.
Yeah, amazing. And I love the fact that, you know, you don't have to have, that's confidence, right? Is the fact that you don't have to have the answer if that's not something that's not been measured before. But the confidence is knowing that this is something that does need exploring, and so that does need flagging up, because if anything, it's just to encourage and motivate other women to know that this is possible for them. Like, I'd never been to an auction house, I'd never even been to MIPIM before, and I think it's because that whole idea of like loads of men in one foreign country, to me, you know, like just landing in a country and being like, right, where's this party? It's not party, it's work. But do you know what I mean? It's like, it was obviously,
of course it is.
Of course, it was. But I've managed to do it once, and I'm doing it again, because I was like, well, if I'm hesitant to go, then so is everybody else. So I need to take the first step. So guys, I did not do it confidently. I was scared. I was hesitant. I was nervous. But I did what I could to make myself get ready. So like, I had my allies, I had my friends, I kind of, you know, teed people up knowing that I was going. I stayed in a safe place. I stayed with people. So, you know, everything that I needed to do to get ready. So you may not have the answers. You just need to figure out how to get yourself as ready as possible for anything like this, whether it's investing or traveling or, you know, starting a business. You need to know what tools, skills and confidence you need to make it happen. So thank you, Tanya. All those stories are brilliant. So I would love to I would love to have you back on the show in the future when you've established those stats and when you've done a bit more when you've made more progress on this whole like lending to female founders, and what that's you know, what outcomes you've got out of that. We would love to see that
let's
back
do
again. Let's do it. So well, I could talk to you for a long we've got so much to discuss. We haven't even touched on the projects that we're working together, but look, there's going to be more. There's going to be more stuff that we'll be sharing. So if people wanted to keep up to date with your journey, or even discover a career at Together, or want to be a borrower of Together, they want to learn more about the lending side, how can we get in touch with you and Together?
So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or any of us on LinkedIn. We have quite a big profile on LinkedIn, but you can access us on our website, which is togethermoney.com. You can go to the Meet the Team page and you can connect there to our email address, our phone number, and any which way that you can. So reach out to us if you want to have a conversation about borrowing or about a job.
Definitely. And they do really live out their brand motto. Like when we say like accessible lending and accessible funding, they're actually also really accessible people. Like their number, emails, their availability to you is really open and really transparent. So it's a really easy lender to deal with, right? And really easy to deal with all the people as well. So thank you again, Money Honeys, for tuning in. Yes, thank you, Tanya, for our very special guest today. If you're new to the show, please give Tanya a big thumbs up, by the way. If you liked the show, share it, or even comment below your highlights, your favorite points, or anything that you would like to contribute. All positivity here, welcome. But of course, if there's been anything of the show that's been triggering, or, you know, you want some constructive feedback, or you want to share anything, we're obviously happy to listen to everybody's comments. But of course, we always come in peace. We come in peace, and we want to do this because we want to raise awareness, and we want everyone. Yeah, we do. We you know, this is Tanya's opinion, and this we have to honor her truth, and she's come here and been brave enough to share her experience, but it may not be true to you. So you know, please, I just hope whoever has benefited from listening to this episode, please let us know by following us, and of course sharing Tanya's episode or connecting with Tanya. Thank you again.